So now we're going to be looking at the third menu. As you can see on screen, this one's got quite a few options in there. So you can see there's you can scroll through them as normal. Let's have a look over here, and you're going to say exposure compensation. So you can select that, and you can either make your image a little bit darker or a little bit darker or brighter. So these kind of things, I would see these in, for example, if I'm taking a photo on a sunny day, I will tend to make it brighter in camera, but with the compensation I'll probably knock it down a bit, because you want it, if anything, you want it a bit darker because you can recover that light back than having it in a brightness. So that's an example use of that, and you've got it on the top of the camera anyway, so you can actually use it from here. You can see it. Let me show you. So if I select the top of the camera, if you look at my menu section, it'll show you the menus and how to use them. You can scroll between that. That's one of like the quick dials on top of the camera. So you can see here, that's like the quick dial, which is the exposure compensation. So a lot of people use it. I'm not a big fan of it, so I'm showing you it, but yeah. So ISO speed settings, that is going to be something that will be interesting now. So ISO is the camera's way of depicting light. I'll say it in those terms. There's loads of fancy explanations for it, but think of it like how bright or dark the image is. And it's not based on what the camera sees, it's more based on what the camera's image processor decides. So it's like a digital lighting type thing. In old film cameras, it's totally different because you had a set film ISO that you put in your camera, but these days it's digital. Okay, so you can set a range of minimum and maximum. So what this means is, if you put it into a mode, 6400 is way too high. I would never want it to be that high. Let's go to, with this type of camera, I'll stick at 800, I think. And the reason I'm saying that is because it's a 1-inch small sensor. If I had a full DSLR camera, like my 5D Mark II, 3, 4, I can knock it up to 6400 and not worry because it's got a bigger sensor, lets in more light. It can handle it. With this smaller sensor, you'll start introducing noise and the image will look a little bit grainy. If you don't mind that and you're doing family photos and you'd rather it be grainy than not have the shot, it's perfectly fine. Don't be afraid to shoot a high ISO, because sometimes the high ISO images tend to work at the best. They look really nice. It's like the moment that you wouldn't have otherwise caught. But okay, so that's that done. And range for 4K. So here you luckily get an option for ISO range for everything, and then 4K video as well. So that is a bit too high there as well. I'll probably make that like smaller. Let's make it 1600. I would go 800 again. I'll do 1600 because in video I don't want a grainy video basically. So max for automatic mode, if you set in automatic, I've put it in the lowest value. I don't want it going over 1600. Max for auto in 4K, let's go 1600 again. Max for auto in video mode, let's go 1600. I don't want to go any higher than that basically. So when your ISO setting is set and you're in automatic mode, it won't ever boost it too high, because I've seen some of the boosted pictures and I was like, what? For my uses anyway. Auto lighting optimizer, you've got a couple of options here. This is, I had a look at the Canon guide just so I give you the full information on this one. They say it's the correct brightness and contrast automatically to avoid images that are too dark or have too little or too much contrast. So think about taking a photograph of a lot of sky and not too much ground. You get like a disorientation kind of feel of too much light and the camera doesn't know, is it actually really bright or is it dark? So this is meant to help you with those situations. So think about cloudy days, think about high exposure photographs, those kind of things. Disable during manual exposure. You got different settings there: low, standard, and high. I don't really. Well, let me turn it off actually, because I don't really use it. Okay, now highlight tone priority. Highlight tone priority. So let's have a look at that. Two options: disable and enable. Disable. So with this highlight tone priority, I've actually looked at the advanced guide to see what they tell you about it. And you got off and you got D+. They say in the advanced guide, you know what they say? This is it. So setting highlight tone priority to D+ or D+2 will prevent you from setting ISO speeds lower than 200. Under some shooting conditions, images may not look as expected even if you choose this option. So I don't know why they've got it. Improve graduation in bright image areas to avoid loss of detail in subject highlights. So that's basically what it is. Let's just turn it off, shall we? Because you know what? ND filter, this has to be the best thing since Captain America and Tony Stark, because if you're doing outdoor vlogging, you may remember ND filters are basically the sunglasses that make your lens not have as much light enter it, which then gives you nice options to have low aperture and blurry backgrounds in your vlogs. This camera has it built in. It's a point and shoot power shot camera, but it's got it built in, so you can turn it on or off. I normally have it on, which is what it was on. Metering timer, this is how long it meters based on your camera settings for taking a video or photograph. So it looks like metering around your scene. So we've got a few options there. Mine's set on the 4-minute. Zebra settings, mine's are off. You've got different options here now to allow you to have the extra zebra patterns on screen to see what you want to basically do. And that is a quick look at menu number 3. We're doing well. Well done. You've made it so far. I'm hoping you're finding some use in these breakdowns of the camera. And let's have a look at the next menu, beauty.